right, here with Professor Will Antonyan, Jiu-Jitsu coach, athlete, mentor, Glendale, here at Burbank many years, the capoeira, so you were the nickname Caveira.
Yep.
Yeah, we finally
That's
got
me.
you, one of our black belts. We finally got you. You're on the list to talk to. So thank you, man. Thank you for making the time and
Of course.
coming out.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. It's been a long time coming, like you said.
Yeah.
And no introductions required for Professor Alberto over here.
Antonian, is that you said you were just telling me that it's not a common Armenian name?
Not really common.
Like I haven't heard it. I don't think I've ever heard it actually.
I've only ever met one other person with that last name. Interestingly enough, my grandpa changed our family name from Zargarian to Antonyan. So he wanted to kind of move from the end of the alphabet to the beginning. I'm not really sure why he did that, but that's the story that I've heard.
When he came to the U.S. or when he in Armenia?
In Armenia, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm Hainadarts, which means ethnically Armenian, but my parents were born and lived in Persia before they moved to Armenia. So I'm kind of have like an interculture thing going on there.
They left and then they came back, right? Is what that means, right?
I think so. I'm not exactly sure.
They went to like 500 years ago, right? They went to Persia, Iran, and lived there for hundreds of years, and then they moved back right around the communism time, right?
Right.
They built these cities and to bring the Armenians back to Armenia.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of the scam that my grandpa fell for. Unfortunately, yeah.
My wife Edith's parents too. Yeah.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they really believed in the message, the communist message. They thought that it was going to be what they said it was going to be, and well, now that
What
now
town?
we know.
What town was it?
I believe not. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you. Yeah, I want to say one city, but I'm not sure.
Abovian? No, Abovian.
Maybe. That's the one that comes to mind, but it's either that one or another one. I'm not 100% sure.
No worries. Yeah. Cool. And then you were born here?
Yeah, I was. My parents immigrated to America in '93. My mom was pregnant at the time that they were moving here. As you know, there was a major earthquake in what was it, 91 or was it 92?
Not sure. Yeah.
But anyway,
in the 90s, yeah.
In the 90s, yeah, the early
90s,
90s, right? So after that major earthquake, due to the devastation, they decided to move, and they had the opportunity to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So they came here and established their life here. So it's been a strange life. I've grown up interculture from the beginning. Being ethnically Armenian, but also having roots in Iran. So my mom cooks Armenian food and Persian food, so I get the best of those both worlds. And then coming here to America was strange as well because, again, because of that interculture paradigm, like submitting to the Armenian traditional values while existing in the modern American frame. It was a strange upbringing, to say the least.
Yeah, it's different, right? From Armenians that when maybe you had your childhood in Armenia and then you move here, so you have those roots, kind of the way life was over there, and then you come here and then you adapt to that, but you grew up with that the culture, right? But also in America, right?
Yeah,
like you're born and raised here.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of had to figure stuff out on my own. I couldn't really rely on my parents too much. They didn't even really know the language. Like anytime they had to fill out any kind of paperwork or anything like that, we had to do it for them being their kids, So it forced us to mature.
Do you have
really
an older brother? You have brothers and sisters?
I have one older brother. He's 4 years older than me.
Okay.
So a lot of the brunt of that maturity fell on him.
Took it, yeah.
Yeah. So he was kind of like almost my second dad in a way. I don't think he would like me saying that, but that's just the truth of the matter.
Yeah, you took care of your parents and then you.
Exactly.
along the
Yeah.
way,
And
translating
still
things.
to this day, he still takes care of them, and some of that. I don't want to call it a burden, but that's what it is. Falls on my shoulders as well. But I'm happy to hold it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What else are we gonna take care of our family, right?
Yeah. What else can you do? I mean, those are the people that you know the longest. I feel that it's a marker of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
If you don't get along with the people who you've known the longest, then
Yeah.
who are you really?
Yeah, that's it. So how did you get into jiu-jitsu and martial arts?
So I was an athlete during high school. I played lacrosse. It's not very common on the West Coast, but we did have a program at my high school,
Where'd you go to high school?
at Glendale High.
Oh, okay.
So after high school, I kind of stopped working out altogether and threw myself into the professional world.
Yeah, George Bonilla's brother, Eduardo played lacrosse. I remember that. He went to college too. Played lacrosse in college.
It's an awesome sport. I still love it. It has the same physicality as jiu-jitsu. Like you're allowed to check people with the stick and with your body, so it has that physical aspect to it. That thing that I really like. But like I was saying, after high school, I kind of stopped working out, and I found myself in a situation where I was what they call skinny fat, like no muscle mass, but I was still like kind of looked how I do now, but I had like a belly and everything. It was just nasty. I didn't feel great. So I'd always been really interested in martial arts because one of my brother's friends, Chris Zakarian, he's a judo black belt under
The Gokor, right?
Gokor, correct? Yeah.
I know Chris, yeah.
Oh, you know Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Oh, cool.
So he was always talking about it, and I was always super interested. So I decided to go try a Muay Thai class one day up in Montrose at an organization called M3 Fight and Fitness.
Yeah.
They don't exist anymore,
Yeah.
unfortunately, due to COVID. But I started training Muay Thai there, and I did that for about 6 months. And I'd always see people training jiu-jitsu in the back because they had two mats. The Muay Thai was in the front, the jiu-jitsu was in the back. And I would always watch them, and I was curious. So one day I decided to try it, and I became obsessed immediately, and I never trained Muay Thai again after that.
He started your jiu-jitsu journey. What do you remember at your first class? What got you hooked? What brought you in?
This girl kicked my ass, and I was
What is it? Rudy Fishman's gym? The
the
M3 at the time?
the head instructor was Danny.
Okay. So
I
Rudy
forget his last name.
had moved already.
Yeah,
Because he was the one who started the M3.
he was
I was
the
friends with
wrestler,
him.
right?
He was a jiu-jitsu guy, straight up jiu-jitsu.
Oh, okay.
Rudy Fishman.
I never met Rudy. So my first instructor, his name was Danny. I'm forgetting his last name right now. He moved to Texas, like I said, after COVID.
Okay. I'm out.
Yeah, he dipped out. His he had
We're not essential.
yeah.
Jiu-jitsu wasn't essential.
We should have been though. That's why I found Legacy, because I heard that you guys were still training, so I was like I needed it at that time.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone was kind of splintered, so we needed that community.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
Yeah.
I needed it too. Yeah.
100%. It was necessary. I mean, what were you supposed to do? Roll over and die? Like that's what they wanted.
Yeah. Separating everybody.
That was kind of the big scam that they were playing. I don't mean to get deep, but it was kind of really an attack on the collective human consciousness. That's the way that I see it. They were trying to make us forget what we are.
Yeah. Just disconnect everybody, get everybody isolated, right? And that's the worst thing you can do to a human, right? Is human, like, what do they call it in prison? The confinement, when they put you by yourself, right?
Yeah,
solitary confinement, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about isolation is isolation breeds desperation. And when you're in a desperate state, you become easy to control. You're willing to listen to things that you wouldn't normally do. You'll do things that you wouldn't normally do.
Right.
Because you crave that community. You crave that connection.
Yeah. We need that, right? We need that.
It's absolutely necessary to what we are.
Yeah. Yeah, it was first it was stay at home, right? And then everybody stayed at home, and then they wanted to go for a walk, and then all the Armenians tried to go on. All the sidewalks were full,
Yep.
and the hiking trails were full. Hey, it's too many people outside, like because people are congregating there.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh, you can't do that. You have to whatever it was. You know, it's just like, what the heck is going on?
They're trying to get away from the cities, away from law enforcement. You know,
People
but-
surfing and people getting arrested because they were surfing.
that's crazy. They
It's
were
dangerous.
filling skate parks with sand, and it's like, what are you doing? You know.
Yeah, man.
Insane.
What a time. What a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we got through it, right? With,
Absolutely.
With each other. Yeah, man. So okay, you found Legacy, you started training. It was great. I would love having you in class. And,
Thank you.
And then remember we had a couple, like holiday parties. I think I connected with you at a couple of holiday parties and got to know you more. And I was like, oh, okay, great. And then now you're teaching, which is awesome. I love it. You know, Anthony asking me, so you're teaching in Glendale, and how's that been going?
It's one of the most rewarding experiences that I've ever had in my life. I'm eternally grateful that I have the ability to do jiu-jitsu and also to teach jiu-jitsu. The best feeling for me over anything is when one of my students comes to me and says, hey, that move that you showed or that technique that you showed, I've been hitting it. It's working really well for me. So having that immediate feedback is really valuable for me. I did start at Legacy as a blue belt. I do remember my very first class. I took Anthony's advanced class at 7:30.
Nice.
And since I walked in with a blue belt, they were kind of like curious as to like, oh, is this guy really a blue belt? You know, so I remember them like watching me like really close, and I thought that was just kind of funny. But I think they were able to see that I'd actually, you know, done some training, that I was a real blue belt, and they were really welcoming to me from day one. And again, I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that I was able to find Legacy and continue my journey, that I didn't have to put it on hold. Due to the insanity that was going on at the time.
Yeah. And I got to know you a little bit more during capoeira as well. You started doing capoeira, and you're like one of the main guys that would show up every week, right? For both classes, I think.
Yeah, I don't think I ever missed a capoeira class.
With Edson, Professor Edson.
Yeah.
Sururu.
Capoeira was an important part of my jiu-jitsu journey as well. I think everybody should do it. In jiu-jitsu, sometimes we forget that it's supposed to be flow-based, and we start to fight each other. We meet a push with a push and a pull with a pull when it should be the other way around. Capoeira teaches you to kind of pull on a push and push when they pull.
Go with the flow.
Exactly.
Flow with the go.
Right. Capoeira was also important in garnering my mental state during rolling. Capoeira was able to teach me that I need to keep track of the three-dimensional space around me, not only my own body, not only my opponent's body, but finding where the open space is, where I can move my body with the least amount of resistance. That's what I think capoeira is really important for.
Awesome. Yeah, you love. Every time you're in class, you're doing some judo. You're scrapping, standing up. You know, not a lot of people do that. You know, in jiu-jitsu classes per se. You know, but you always chase it. You always go for it, especially if there's some judo guys in class. It doesn't matter the weight, how much they weigh, or what.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the stand-up fighting. It's one of my favorites, really, and that's something that I try to pass on to my students. From day one, I'm showing takedowns, I'm showing wrestling and judo. As we know, every fight starts on the feet. I practice jiu-jitsu as a form of self-defense, so for me, it's important to be able to fight in a standing position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take the fight where you want to take it, right?
Exactly.
I was going to ask you about, you know, you have your Instagram is a pleasant chaos, you know, and it's funny. We had that new class, and I was like, jiu-jitsu in one word, and our Constantine, who is a Buddhist monk, said pleasant chaos. So where did that pleasant chaos Instagram name come from?
I changed it during the COVID era. Pleasant chaos is It means a lot to me because my favorite theme in life is duality, popularly known as the yin and yang, the balance of life, chaos representing the darkness, and pleasantry representing the light. Um, like I said, it's my favorite theme. All of my tattoos that I currently have are all based on duality. Um, it's a little ridiculous to say, but I think that balance is the most important thing in life, that we need to garner our light and our darkness. And when you invest too much into one side, you breed imbalance in your character, and in the world overall at large.
Yeah, there's no dark without the light, and there's no light without the dark, right?
Yes.
You see, have you seen the picture of the quantum entanglement and how it looks like a yin and yang sign?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
What do you think about that?
I think that's the basis of all things. My personal belief system is pantheism. What that means is that everything is physically composed of God. I don't believe in organized religion too much, although a lie is not believable without a little bit of truth, and a joke is not funny without a little bit of truth thrown in there. Um, and I see religion in the same way. Organized religion specifically is that it's a lie with a bit of truth thrown in there. I believe that everything, when broken down into its simplest components, is composed of the same thing. So everything is made of the same thing, and that's what I call God.
Yeah, like I look at it like we're frequency, we're energy, right? And so everything's energy. We're not these we the way our eyes are designed, right? We can't see through each other, but we all feel things. We all, when we meet people, or we can get excited, or we can get like sad, right? Or they can suck the energy out of us, right?
Absolutely.
Just depending who we're with, right?
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to curate your personal relationships. You don't want too many leeches, so to say.
Yeah.
And you can't have it the other way around either. And like you said, it's kind of in the air. It's electric. It's magnetic. When someone is feeling good, truly feeling good, and not acting like they're feeling good, you can see it. You can feel it. It's not a lie that can be told.
They say we are at our highest frequency when we are ourselves. Like we're authentic, we're ourselves. What do you think about that?
I think that's absolutely true.
And why is that?
That's a tough question.
Why do you think that is?
I think that we are much more capable than we give ourselves credit for, and that others are also much more capable than they give themselves credit for. There are a lot of things that are unseen that cannot be perceived with the sensors that we possess physically. And I think that ties directly into that. Like I'd mentioned before, you can almost feel it in the air. You can feel it in your gut. Your brain is telling you, because your brain can see it. Maybe your eyes can't. But I don't think I really answered your question effectively.
Yeah, like
there.
why are you? They say right, your highest frequency, you're vibrating the highest when you're being yourself, when you're being authentic. So why is that? Why do we get aligned? How are we able to tap into whatever you want to call it, the higher power, be our highest self?
So when you raise your vibrational frequency, I think you're connecting to the overall, like I said before, what I call God. You're connecting to everything, not only the people that are around you, but all of the objects, the air itself, the earth. That connection raises your frequency. when you're able to connect to that God energy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And when we're ourselves, we're not fighting. Talking about the being the balance, right, of both sides. You're aligning everything, and so probably that's why, right, we're vibrating. We're not getting slowed down. We're not getting our waves, suppressed, right?
Yeah, you're in a way worshiping what you should, and worshiping not worshiping what you shouldn't. You're paying attention to the overall encompassing consciousness that breeds all of us. You're not replacing that God with your own God,
Yeah.
whether that be money, technology, beauty, whatever you're replacing
Yeah.
it with. And that's where you reach that imbalance, is when you ignore God.
Yeah. What is are you an engineer?
I'm an engineering technician.
Technician. Okay.
Yeah. I actually started a new job this week.
Okay.
Funnily enough, at a place called Chaos Industries.
Oh yeah.
I think it's really fitting. But I was first. I was the first Pleasant Chaos. They were founded in 2022, so I'm the original.
Yeah.
But as far as my professional life goes, I've always been involved in defense and aerospace, which means that there's blood on my hands, unfortunately. I see myself as sort of a modern blacksmith. In the past, the blacksmiths would create the weapons
Right.
for war, and that's what I do now.
It's interesting, right? And the blacksmiths would make the shields and the weapons, the swords, right?
Yeah, but now it's missiles and lasers and jets and satellites. I mostly have worked on imaging equipment, so targeting systems, radar, etc., satellites, rockets, all of that stuff.
Man, some of the technology is getting crazier and crazier.
It's mind-blowing.
It's already been crazy, right? But we just don't hear about it, or I don't hear about it.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of all of it. I don't know if you were aware of the Helios demonstration that the Navy just put on, or was it the Air Force? They essentially mounted a direct energy weapon to a battleship, and they released this photo of that direct energy weapon taking out a flying object from a great distance. But that's the
direct
base level.
energy. They just shoot energy towards a plane or something.
Yes, exactly.
Whatever they want.
Whatever the target may be, whether it's
Missile.
personnel or missile or any type of flying object. When it's directed at personnel, it's usually a microwave weapon, or as we saw recently during the protests in Europe, it's a frequency weapon. It's called area denial, or ADS, area denial system. So they essentially play a frequency in a zone, and it becomes so unbearable to the human body that you have to leave. You can't stay in that area. It's impossible.
You don't see it, you don't hear it, right? You just feel it?
Exactly. Yeah, you might be able to hear something. I've never been affected by it, thankfully. I don't think I ever will be, because I'm not a soldier. You know, we are warriors, but we don't fight in wars. Maybe spiritual wars, maybe our own personal mental struggles and things like that, but not a physical war. We're not taking anyone's lives.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
But it's a crazy system. I mean, like I said before, that's the very base level, mounting that type of weaponry on a battleship. The next level to that is when you mount it to a satellite and you have global domination,
From
essentially.
space.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think
Star Wars, literal Star Wars, right?
literally, yeah. It's crazy that fiction oftentimes becomes a reality. Like I said before, everything has a little bit of truth to it. Otherwise, it's not believable. It's not entertaining.
Yeah. Remember that movie V for Vendetta?
One of my favorites. Yeah.
Oh my God! Like a pandemic in 2020, and just all the things that it talked about or had in the movie,
Yeah.
and it was done in what 2012, something like that.
I think even earlier.
Mm.
I think the early 2000s. But that's a great piece of media. It's telling of our times, unfortunately.
Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah.
The Matrix, right? The Matrix with all the Matrix things, and
Yeah.
man,
I think that could be, what we're actually experiencing. Maybe we are part of some
simulation.
simulation, some computer system that's generating everything we see and touch and feel and taste. But who knows? I think that in this life, anyone who thinks that they know anything is completely lost. No one can tell you where they came from. No one can tell you where they're going. So how can you claim to know anything at all?
Yeah, that's it. Well said. Yeah, we're going to some places, and like the smartest guys, the Nobel Prize guys, they said like, we think but we don't know. The humbly,
Yeah.
even Einstein, right,
Mm-hmm.
would be like that.
Yeah. But
It's a theory, right? He thinks, but what do I know?
exactly. But to me, those types of intellectuals, they've lost the plot. This ties into what we were talking about before. They've replaced God with technology. They're completely lost.
Mm-hmm.
They forsake their personal connections in substitution for their technical prowess, but in that way, they've forsaken their humanity.
Yeah, it's interesting. The whole thing. The pyramids, all the things they're finding in the pyramids, right?
Absolute insanity. Yeah. The tallest skyscrapers don't reach that high, or just higher than what they were able to
And
build
it's
underground.
supposedly thousands of years old, and we didn't know about that. Or how do they do that, right? How did they build that?
Yeah, it's unimaginable. Are you aware of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth?
No. Tell me.
It's one of the
The
oldest
Emerald
texts.
Tablets of
Thoth.
Thoth.
He's the Egyptian god of knowledge, if I'm correct. He's depicted as having the head of an ibis. It's a bird that was native to the area. It has a long beak. They hunt by sticking their beak into the earth.
Okay.
I also believe they're flightless birds, but that's the way that he's depicted in ancient Egypt.
Okay.
The Greeks also had a depiction of Thoth. He was known as Hermes Trismegistus, or in English, Hermes the 3 times magnificent or majestic. He was known as being the all-knowing entity, the one of us who was closest to God, who was able to communicate with that higher power to bring those technologies into fruition. But the reason why I bring up the Emerald Tablets of Thoth is in those tablets, he talks about structures under the Great Pyramids that reach to great depths. He calls them the halls of Amenti. He says that in those halls is contained all of the overall knowledge of humanity, like a library. They say that the Emerald Tablets are currently in possession of the Vatican, but who knows if that's true.
It's probably a little bit of truth, right?
Exactly.
And
yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Maybe not them, but someone has it. Someone has those tablets. They're known to be indestructible. Whether you drop a nuke on it or set it on fire or hit it with a hammer, they say that they're completely indestructible. Have you been to the pyramids?
I have not. I'm hoping to go one sooner than later.
Yeah, I know you travel a lot.
We were supposed to, but we something happened that we weren't able to go.
Egypt is a crazy place.
You've been?
I went one time. I was there for 3 days. I was in Greece at the time, and I was booking my next flight, and I was planning on going to Spain. But I was also looking at going to Egypt because it's right there next to Greece, just over the Mediterranean. Yeah. So I decided to go for it, and I'm thankful that I did. when I was there was when Gaza was first popping off. So I was probably the only tourist in Giza at the time. When I landed there, they have representatives from their tourism agency in the airport ready to capture Americans. Not capture, but I guess you could say guide.
Yeah.
So the first guy I met, his name was Muhammad. He spoke fluent English, fluent Arabic, really a solid guy. And he asked me where my hotel was, and he's like, "Oh, you don't want to stay there. That's not a real hotel." So he put me up with a more reputable place. And at first, of course, I thought he was trying to scam me. I was like, who are you? Let me see your credentials. He showed me his badge. He showed me his ID. I was like, okay, this guy's, really from the tourism agency. He put me up in a hotel that looked directly out onto the Giza Plateau.
Oh, wow.
So I looked out my window, and the Great Pyramids of Egypt were right there. It was insane. I couldn't believe my eyes. I never thought that I would make it out there. I thought that eventually I would be able to see it, maybe when I was much older, when I had established my life a little bit more. But I was lucky enough to get out there in my younger age and be able to see that and perceive that with my own eyes. The pyramids are mind-blowing. It really makes you think, what is it that we've lost? A great deal, really.
Right, there's all these funny reels, right? The pyramids in Mexico, and like nobody doubts who built them because the Mexicans they're the hardest working.
They're like, oh, the Mexicans definitely built them.
But the pyramids are like, nah, who built these things?
They're like, the Arabs now. Come on.
But of course, all the stones, how heavy they were, and the way they did it, the precision, it's like it doesn't add up, right? So it's like a big mystery.
Even to this day.
To this day, yeah. And now with the the imaging, all the columns underneath it, and it's like, what?
I think they've known about them for a long time, but they say we're entering the age of truth, the age of Aquarius. I'm not a huge proponent of astrology, but it's an interesting thing to think about. As we know, time reveals all things. So the longer we're able to stick around here, the more that we'll know.
With technology evolving and health and everything else, and some people say like, oh, we're gonna live forever, and I don't think that's a good or bad thing, right? I don't know, but it's nice that we have a time, and so you value the time that you have, right? So I can't imagine living forever, and not that I want to live forever, or But what do you think? Do you think we're going to get to that point where people are they're going to be here forever, living forever?
I think we've reached and surpassed that point. But those things are not accessible to regular people like you and me or anyone that we know. Those types of technologies are reserved for secret societies, the people who you would call the elites, the oligarchs. My personal belief is that they have technology that blows everything out of the water. Again, talking about media, there's this movie Elysium. They have
Elysium?
Yes, they have pods where you lay in the pod and it cures all of your ailments immediately. I think there's some truth to that. There's some reality in there. But like I said, that's not accessible to normal people like you and me. I think in a way you'd have to sell your soul to have access to those things. And that kind of defeats the purpose. Yeah. Why would you want to live forever if you don't have a soul?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. All right, switching up. Tell me some interesting things about you that people maybe don't know about you.
The first thing that comes to mind is that I grew up as a concert violinist.
Concert violinist?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I started playing the violin when I was 5 or 6 years old.
5 or 6 years old, okay.
I practiced many hours every
Did you?
single
What's
day.
it called? Suzuki? Did you do that? Was it the?
I haven't heard of that.
Okay, is it not Suzuki?
Is that like a method?
It's a method. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
Okay, okay.
I had an instructor from Armenia. He only spoke Armenian, and he was very brutal. So I picked things up quickly.
Soviet style.
Absolutely. That ties into something else I wanted to talk about. Since my family was in the Soviet Union physically, as you know, there was, I forget the name for it, compulsory service.
Compulsory service.
Yeah, to the military. Like what
Right,
happens in Korea.
you have to go.
Right. Yeah. When you turn 18, you either serve for 2 years or you go to jail for 4 years. Which I think is
Which I still think they have in Armenia now, right?
Do they?
I think so.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it. I think it's a good thing, honestly. I think it's a good thing to serve the nation that you belong to. Nationalism
Unless
is
you get
seen...
sent to Açai and pass away. You know, there was a kid, kids that got taken out.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate reality of that process. During wartime, it's not great. Saying goodbye to your children and thinking that you'll never see them again, and vice versa.
Yeah.
It's a dark thing.
Yeah, going back. Sorry,
That's okay.
To derail. So you were saying about the military service and.
Yeah. So my dad served in the Soviet military. He was actually a general in the Corps of Engineers.
Wow.
So as far as I understand, because he doesn't like to talk about that too much, understandably, is that he would build their compounds for the military. So he would oversee the building of those compounds, and that's translated into his current professional life as a general contractor.
What kind of compounds?
Military compounds, essentially, like any kind of building that they would need.
Okay.
They would send not only him, but him and his team, the Corps of Engineers, to put up those buildings, put up those structures.
Okay.
And like I said, that ties into his professional career now. He's built a lot of large dwellings around LA, like 40, 60 unit buildings.
Wow.
Yeah. My dad's a really inspiring guy. I can't imagine moving to a new country, not knowing the language, with kids and a wife in tow, with your family, and being able to establish yourself in the way that he did. I see him as a sort of alchemist. He took nothing and turned it into something, and that's inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, right? American dream, right? Living the American dream.
Absolutely.
Coming from nothing and creating something, right?
And he loves this country for it, and I'm grateful that he has that gratitude in him to be able to realize that he's blessed to experience this life. Like we said before, you're very well traveled. You've seen the third world. You've seen the second world. The way that I would describe those places in one word is desperation. They have nothing and they just want something, and they have no means to establish that.
Yeah, the opportunities we have here, it's like you go to the other places, and the fact that we can do the things that we do here. Come on.
Yeah.
People would die. They literally died to have the opportunities to do this, right?
Just to work. They would kill themselves just to work. Working a minimum wage job in the United States, you generate 10 times to 20 times the income that someone generates in the third world working a similar job. And a lot of people take it for granted. They forget to count their blessings. They forget to thank God for their situation.
Just by being born here, right?
Yeah. Not even only America. Anywhere where you have access to running water, electricity, plumbing, that's a huge thing. Even something as simple as being able to flush the toilet paper. People just take everything for granted.
Yeah.
But that's just an unfortunate byproduct of being a human being, is that we tend to focus all of our energy on the most negative things in our life. And naturally, that's kind of a requirement because those are the things in your life that require the most attention, that need to be changed. But it's exceedingly important to count your blessings, to thank God.
Be grateful, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to the violin playing, you started when you were 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
And then what happened after that?
So I took to it really well. I find that when I start something new, I'm able to learn quickly. That's one of my blessings. So I was a performer at first. I was a solo performer. Through public school, I was able to join the school orchestra. I performed in orchestras and as a soloist. Also, with an orchestra as my back, so I was a soloist in the front.
Wow.
Stage performing is difficult. It induces anxiety, especially if you're not prepared. But there's a certain magic to it when you can go up there and you feel that you're giving it your all. You're kind of plugged into that higher frequency that we were talking about earlier. The nerves don't affect you, and you're able to perform at your highest level. And it's apparent when someone is doing that. Like we were talking about before, you can see it, you can feel it. It's very obvious. Like I said before, my instructor, he was really brutal. When I would make mistakes, he would have a switch in his hand, so just like a long thin stick, and he would like slap my fingers with it. You know? Obviously, at the time, I didn't like it. He would smack me upside the head when I would make mistakes. But I think maybe we're a little too soft now. Maybe we should bring some of that stuff back. Maybe not to that level, but some sort of physical reinforcement, I think, is sometimes required.
Spare the rod, spare the child, right? You ever heard of that?
I haven't. No. What does
No,
that mean?
just like basically spanking your kid and those kinds of things, right? It's what the kid needs.
Yeah, absolutely. When you make a mistake, you should know that you made a mistake, especially when you're a child. Kind of negative reinforcement, but I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you play in your school orchestra in high school? And
yeah, I did.
Okay.
I played in the school orchestra in high school for the first 2 years. I quit playing the violin in my junior year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like 15 to 16 years old. So
You used to take the violin case to school and stuff?
Yeah, every day. Yeah. So I'd lug that thing around all the time. But yeah, I quit around that age because I wanted to pursue more physical things, specifically lacrosse at the time.
What did your parents think about that?
Oh, they absolutely hated it. I heard about it for maybe like 10 years after that, till I was a grown man. Like, I can't believe you set that aside, and I don't know what you're thinking, like this and that. But I felt that it was the right move at the time. Music came back into my life. When I was about 20, I taught myself to play the guitar. And the guitar is just cooler, it's more accessible. You can't really take a violin to a party, So again, this ties into.
What if you did?
You definitely could. It would be a little over the top, yeah, like setting it up and
Think about all the amount of girls.
You better be good.
Right, yeah.
And the right song selection.
Yeah, but yeah, this ties into what we were talking about before. I lost my train of thought.
How you got back into music when you were 20 and you taught yourself how to play the guitar.
Yeah, so I still play music to this day almost daily.
Wow.
I see it as kind of a meditative practice. But that's kind of one of my pitfalls. I see everything as a meditative practice, whether it's jiu-jitsu or consumption or whatever it may be. I see everything as a form of conscious meditation. And music is one of the biggest things that I see as that conscious form of meditation. If you're not physically present, if you're not mentally aware, music becomes inaccessible, impossible to create.
And to do, right? To create. Yeah. Is that one of the things you liked about capoeira, the musical
Definitely.
aspect of it?
Absolutely, yeah. That's a big part of capoeira as well. It's a very rhythmic thing, and I took to that very well, like a fish
Yeah.
to water.
I remember when Cabrera was here, right? He does tack fit. He had the during Eagle Rock, right? The balance, counterbalance.
Yeah,
But you know, I would work all day and I would do all these different things and I'd be exhausted at the end of the night, and he would have the capoeira class and I would do it because it would help me with my tack fit and different things, my movement. And at the end they would do music and I would be exhausted, but then after, you know, you're tired, everything kind of, you're sore, this and that, but then after like doing the music part, I would feel good. I would feel it's all good, like almost like recovery, right?
yeah. Music is interesting in that way. It has a regenerative quality to it. Again, I keep going back to what we were talking about before, but good music is unmistakable. It's immediately recognizable. You don't even have to know what's going on. You know whether a song is good or bad. You know what music that you like, and those things, like I said, are regenerative to our mind, our body, our spirit. They're uplifting. They're connecting. They create community. Music is a big part of humanity.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the first, if not the first, forms of communication. Music in itself is a language. When you're playing with a musician, let's say in a band or an orchestra, there is a non-physical communication that's going on. You're almost splitting your consciousness in a way where most of your consciousness is remaining in your own body, but a percentage of your consciousness is in their body as well. You can feel what they're playing and what they're hearing. And that kind of, I want to say, moves things along without having to talk, without having to speak physically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Man, music is orchestra, you know, violin. That's funny. That's it's funny because actually it's funny. I used to play violin. Like my mom wanted me to play piano and do a violin for some reason, and I didn't really care too much about the violin because I didn't think it was cool, even when I was little, you know. and then when we moved, because I lived in Europe when I was a kid, when we moved back, going to school with that case, you know, that violin was like just that alone, you know. But it was cool. I'm glad I had that experience. But I didn't see myself after, I guess, middle school, you know, like maybe sixth grade. I don't think I wanted to do it anymore.
I didn't know that about you. That's really
That's
interesting.
interesting, right?
Yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah. So you
First
do
string,
have.
second string. So I know.
Oh, okay, yeah. You definitely know that.
Then I
yeah.
play notes and play violin.
Can you still read sheet music?
I can,
or-
yeah, I can.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, because
actually
it doesn't go
awesome.
away when you grow up with it, right?
Yeah, and it's pretty simple to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you can find one note, or you can know what that note is, you can kind of figure it out from there.
Yeah.
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 Wow, that's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, my younger sister, I think it's called Suzuki. She played since she was like, I don't know, like 4 or 5, you know. And she plays.
Still plays?
She plays, yeah. She plays in like a mariachi band, you know. It's funny.
That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's
Super
like,
cool.
Yeah.
Does she put on the whole outfit and everything?
The whole outfit, yeah.
Wow.
She does the violin, and they have a whole like little orchestra, right? Little group.
So I thought that you had grown up in New Mexico. So
My
moved
family's from
back
there.
And forth
Yeah,
between-
but when I was a kid, I lived in Germany, in
Wow.
Munich, you know. So I spent most of my childhood there. Like I lived there for like 7 years.
Wow.
We came back for a year because I forgot where I wasn't speaking English at home.
Oh,
So
I see.
my mom was like, "Hey, let's go back." And they had that Chernobyl. Do you remember there was like a nuclear accident in Ukraine?
Yep.
The Chernobyl nuclear reactor, right? Whatever, it blew up, and then they were like, it was raining like acid rain in Europe and stuff. And my mom was like,
That's
"Hey,
crazy.
you're not speaking English. Let's get you out of here." And so she sent me and my sister to back home, back to the U.S. for me to get my English on and stay away from the acid rains in Europe.
That's a good reason to leave.
And then after a year, we went back. It was great. It was a great childhood.
Did you retain any of your German?
Yeah, I'm rusty, right? I'm rusty, but then I speak Portuguese and all these different things, and so I kind of mix it sometimes. But if I'm
Yeah.
there for a couple of weeks, I know I'll be back, and I have all these words. I was going to do some like neuroscience courses and stuff over there a couple times, and then you're there, and then people are talking German, and then all of a sudden you know what that means, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden these words, because you're around it, all these words pop out of my head that I didn't even know I knew.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, what the heck? How do I
Where
know
did that come from?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's all these like subconscious, like all this subconscious knowledge that I have, right? And it's just getting stimulated by listening and being in the environment.
It's like somewhere in there, maybe like behind some door or
Yeah.
something,
I was
yeah.
like, what? Yeah.
Whoa, yeah.
Well, one, I was understanding everything, and then two, like these words started to just come out of nowhere.
That's insane. And Portuguese itself also has some German language influences as well. Or am I mistaken?
Yeah, it's like Latin based, right? Like Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, right? Romanian, I think.
Yeah, so
French.
they do share some.
But
some
German is different. German is different. You have like three, like you have your male, female, and like whatever conjugations and
right.
Yeah, it's different. But yeah, it's when I hear the language, like it's funny because like Adit, she laughs at me because it's like Germans are like so like rigid,
Yeah.
And but it's like happiness for me in a way because it's like my childhood, right? But it's like funny too, just the rigidness of like the way the German culture. Not like all the Germans are so rigid, but just the culture is like very like, this is the way it is.
Yeah, and it can't be any other way.
Right,
it must be this. Yeah.
Like this time, it's this time,
Yeah. You can't say it any other way.
Right.
It has to be correct.
Right.
Yeah. But that's kind of the blessings of the Germans.
Yeah.
As we know, most of the technology that we have today comes from them. Comes from World War II.
World War II, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, rockets, jet engines, the list goes on and on. I'm sure you've heard of Operation Paperclip.
Tell me about it. Tell us about it.
After the war, the United States and the Soviets split up the German scientists between them. All the scientists, the engineers, the technicians, they didn't go to prison.
Operation Paperclip.
Yeah, they were essentially stolen. There's also an interesting fact. The Germans were the first industrial nation to produce stamped metal. They primarily used it to build weapons of war, the famous MP40 machine gun, aircraft parts. Again, the list goes on and on. But they had created two massive hydraulic presses during the war. And the interesting thing about that is that both of those hydraulic presses to this day are operational. One was stolen by the United States. The other one was taken by the Soviets or the Russians now. And like I said, to this day, those presses are still operational almost 100 years later.
Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely mind-blowing.
Wow. Yeah.
If you weren't aware, in Operation Paperclip, they took Werner von Braun. He was the father of rocketry in Germany. And in the United States, he established JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He established NASA. So in a way, we kind of took that part of their culture, that manufacturing culture that they have.
Man, wow. Yeah, I just remember as a kid, like the subway says it's going to be there at 2:23. It actually arrives at 2:23, whatever it is, like right on the minute. I'm like, wow, just the precision, right?
The efficiency.
Yeah. Even like you have like trams, you have buses, you have subways, right? You have different types of subways. The buses were maybe like off a minute just because you can't,
traffic and such.
Yeah, you never know. But damn, they were just on every single piece, the precision on everything. I still think about it sometimes,
Yeah. It's insane. I wish
like
that kind of culture existed here in the U.S. And I think that's a culture of responsibility. It's a culture of nationality, wanting to do the best for the people in your own nation, for yourself. And I feel that that's lost on us here in the U.S. You ride the metro here, it might be 45 minutes late. It's crazy. It's unusable.
Yeah, like my stepfather was German too, so like those are the things like, yeah, you take pride in, right? Like, no, no. What do you mean? That's the way it is.
Yeah, it has to be that way. Like, why would we do that if it wasn't that way? You know? Yeah.
Yeah, German car is like that's why you have that German quality, right? And the standard, right, is it's built German, right? It's made German.
Yeah. You're getting a good product if you're buying
Yeah.
German.
Yeah.
If you're buying Japanese, in the same vein, they kind of have that same kind of perfectionist culture.
Yeah.
Also, like I said, we took over that manufacturing spirit that they had in Germany over here in the U.S. So if you're buying U.S., you're getting most of the time a good quality product.
My stepfather was, he drink Bavaria, right? So they would drink beer. He grew up, that even as a kid drinking beer.
Yeah.
And he would always tell me all the stories like Sapporo, it's German, it's Bavarian beer. Like they went to Japan to teach him how to brew the beer, like whatever it is. What's the Italian one?
A Peroni.
Peroni.
Yeah.
Like you would tell me like all these beers, like I'm like
Yeah.
it's like straight up like these
German
Germans
beer.
went there, German beer.
Yeah. And again, now here in the U.S., like Golden Road or even something like Bud Light or whatever, it all comes from there.
The roots, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just insane. It's insane.
To think about. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a global thing. And they're like,
Latin
hey,
America, everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. I mean,
He would know all the stories. Like, no, this guy went there. Like,
and
okay.
he established this plant.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
In Latin America, they have.
And he would always
Imperial.
get the beers because he would know the lineage, right?
Yeah, so he knows like what region of Bavaria it came from and everything. Yeah.
Well, just like
That's
Sapporo, like
awesome.
how they, the Germans the Bavarian went to Japan and taught them how to brew the beer.
Yeah. And same with whiskey. The Japanese make some of the best whiskey in the world now. So those cultures kind of take the best things from all cultures and combine
Make them
together.
better.
Yeah, and they refine them and perfect them. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the wrestling right now with the Japanese wrestling. Do you watch that? Do you follow that at all?
I have not, no.
Just how the male and the female, especially the female was always so strong, but just the wrestling, the freestyle, but the wrestling in Japan is just, it's like the best in the world right now.
Wow, I didn't know that. When you
Becoming
think
one of the
wrestling,
best,
you think like Eastern Europe or
No, for sure. Like the Russians, for sure, like the best, but like Japan is just like,
they're right
especially
behind
this last Olympics, how many Japanese won,
them. Wow,
female and male.
that's impressive.
It's amazing,
Yeah.
So,
But
and it's also like that same pride, that same, the culture, right?
yeah, the self pride, the responsibility, the want, the need to represent your nation. It's a thing that's lost on us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, right? Germany and then Japan, right? Out of the Axis powers, right? Out of all the people.
Yeah, out of all the people, they're still thriving to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you, brother. Thank you for making the time. I appreciate it. I'm glad we finally got you. You're a busy man. And it's nice to just sit down with you and then share with everybody for them to get to know you better too, some of the students and for me too. So thank you, man. Thank you for being on the mat. Thank you for your friendship. And it's been a pleasure, man, having you on the mat and getting to know you.
Thank you, Professor
over
Crane.
these years.
I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I always say, I'm eternally grateful that I was able to walk into this place and you guys immediately welcomed me, and that's not lost on me. I'll always remember that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.